Hi, I'm Kurt, and this is Troll, our 1978 Trillium molded fiberglass travel trailer. Troll stands for Trill of a Lifetime. Hi, welcome to the Kurt and Carrie YouTube video channel. One of the things that we like about our Trillium 4500 travel trailer, built in 1978, is that it gives us a sitting area, dining area at one end of the trailer, which doubles as a double bed for the two of us. We have a kitchen, we have storage, we have a hard roof that keeps the rain out. A whole lot better than our old 1964 tent trailer ever did. And it's really very comfortable. However, last summer, when we were camping in quite a bit of rain, we discovered a bit of a drawback to the design on this trailer. And that drawback is a bit of a problem. So we're going to address that in this video. Now the problem, simply stated, is that the dining area is hard to get in and out of because of the size of the table and where the cupboards are located. When you've got some extra weight like me, getting in and out is not easy. Like that. The nice thing about the table design in the Trillium 4500 is not only does it double as a bed surface, but it has a section that comes out and can be stored in the closet. When you take that out and close the table up, it makes for a much smaller package, but it's not really big enough for us to eat on. It's just a little bit too small. I'll show you what I mean. There's a series of clips underneath that have to be undone in order to take the table apart. One of those clips is broken on this table now. And there's the shortened table. Not very big, but it's much easier to get into and out of. So what I'm going to do in this project now is take the leaf that we've taken out of the table, basically just simply cut it in half and put some doweling in it. Then we're going to replace the clamps underneath here, the clips that hold everything together, with new ones so that the table can all be held properly. And that will give us a little bit more flexibility in how we can set up the table in order to eat, sleep, and be merry. So stay tuned. Alright, I have the extension piece out of the table here on the work table, and you can see the hardware here is on it that allows it to be clamped together. Unfortunately, one of these pieces that's mounted on the table is broken, and I'm going to have to come up with a replacement for that. Plus, we're going to cut this extension right down the middle this way, and we're going to need to add a couple of extra clips on there to help hold that together. So the first thing to do is to take off the existing hardware. And we'll just keep that in a handy little camping pot. And there we go. I flipped the extension piece over. A previous owner has painted this with some kind of an enamel type paint, pretty sure. We're going to be using the table saw to cut this, so we want the saw blades to cut down through the top surface to try to make the top surface as smooth as possible. And we're going to be using a zero clearance insert on the saw to try to keep the underside from chipping too badly. And one side of the piece here has dowels already glued and inserted into it. That lines up with the holes on the table. The other side has holes in here that the dowels on the table insert into. So what we're going to have to do once we cut this piece in half, is to do the same doweling in between this joint so that it will fit into the existing table, either piece. So the first thing to do is to just mark where we're going to cut it. This piece is 19.5 inches wide, so we're going to cut that at about 9 3/4. To the table saw. Okay, so we're going to use the table saw with a relatively fine blade and a zero clearance insert to try to reduce chipping on the as we cut. Again, we need to set the guide so that it's approximately the 9 3/4 inches that we had set up. For the method to cut it in half. There we go. And again, because we have the dowel sticking out on one side, we have to use the other side as our guide surface. Okay, I have both pieces mounted in workmate vise right now, and we have to drill 2 holes to accept these couple of dowels in there. So the first thing to do is to mark out where they need to be drilled, and we need to do this as accurately as possible. And we have to find the center. And there we go. Now I have to find a drill bit to accommodate the dowels. .3/8 brad pointed drill should be perfect. Now we need the drill. Pretty close, need to clean those holes out just a little bit more. And there's one set of holes drilled. Now on the other side, we need to drill and install some doweling. So again, looking for the right size of doweling. Should be 3/8 of an inch. So we used a 3/8 inch drill bit on the other side to drill our holes, and then I used the 7/16 to just open that up a little bit. And so on the next side we need to install some doweling on that. So I just need to find the right size dowel for that. That's a good one. A little too big and a little too big. So there we go. This one right here, 3/8. And just like before, we have to measure accurately, as accurately as we can. It would be ideal to have a drilling guide for this job. Unfortunately, I don't have one. And I'm not going to run out and buy one just for the one job. So we'll just have to make do with what we've got. And again, the 3/8 inch bit. Yeah, that should go on there pretty nice. Now for the glue. Okay, so I've cut 2 pieces of dowel to go into our new pieces of tabletop. I'm just going to round the tips off of them a little bit to make them easier to insert into the table when we're assembling it. There we go, that one's pretty good. there's a second one. So I've made these dowels a little bit long. I could cut them off and try to glue them in, but these holes I've inadvertently oversized a bit too much. So what I'm going to do is try to drill these holes a little deeper and make sure they're lined up a little bit better. And then I'm just going to glue the longer dowels into the newly drilled holes in the bottom. So let's see how that goes. About got it. That looks about good there. Yep, that should do that one. Now those will probably need a little bit of adjusting in order to make them fit nicely, but they're coming along pretty well. So we're going to let that glue dry for a bit, and then we're going to come along, and what we need to do is I want to paint the unfinished wood pieces here brown to kind of match the rest of the table, and we'll see how that goes. So we'll just let these sit for a bit and we'll come back later. Okay, so before we finish off those two pieces of our extension for the table here, just want to test them out, see how they fit, and do whatever fine tuning is necessary, sanding, enlarging holes, whatever. So let's take a look, see. No extension. One extension. Both extensions. So as you can see, table with the full extension, still pretty much the same as it was before, but now we have two smaller tables that we can have, not just the very, very short or the very, very long, which should make it easier to get in and out of the table, gives us a lot more flexibility, and might even make storage of the extensions a little bit easier as well. So the next thing we need to do is to put some paint on the exposed surfaces that I created by cutting the two in half, and put hardware on. We're going to have to replace some of the hardware, and probably well, we obviously need new hardware for the new joint, and we need to replace one of the catches that was originally on here as well. So we'll get on to that and see you in the next step. This is just leftover paint from a project around home. It's not quite the right color, but all we're really trying to do is just darken the face here so that it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb when the table is set up. And one coat will probably be plenty. It looks pretty good, but I think I'm going to just run over one more time with a little bit of extra paint. Now we're going to have to take the rest of the table off in order to take it into the garage and turn it upside down and work on the hardware end of the deal. Of course, when we travel with the trailer, pretty much all the time really, we leave it set up as a bed on the lower level. Unfortunately, and putting it into that position, of course, is very easy. Unfortunately, we found that in traveling, this particular table would disconnect and bounce all over the place inside the trailer while we're traveling. I'll show you a quick trick that I came up with to keep that from happening. First, we'll knock the table down. And pop the leg up. So to swing the table down, we just bring it down like that. Normally I would be out of the way. But these two catches here for the wire that supports the end of the table have a large opening at the top and make it very easy for the wire to pop out. So all I did was I drilled a couple of small holes in the fiberglass behind each of the catches here, put a large head screw that I now can just turn in a little bit or turn out, as the case may be. Basically take it out, and that allows the table to just lift out. So if your table's popping out on the highway, a couple of screws in there helps keep it right in place. So here's what the underside of the table looks like when it's taken out and flipped upside down. We have the leg that gets supported on, and the hinge that the table hangs from at the other end, and two catches that help to hold it together. Unfortunately, one of them is missing a wire and needs to be either fixed or replaced. We also need two more to fit into the extension that we created two pieces of. So they have to match so that they can all be interconnected. So we'll probably have to replace all of these with new catches as well. So, next thing to do, basically, again, take hardware off. And once the extension pieces are ready to go in, and we have some hardware, we can put it back together.
So that's about all we can do now until we find some new hardware to be able to put everything back together again. So off to the hardware store. We have our new insert pieces painted and ready to go in. So now we'll just mount them into the table and we'll put new catches on. The old catches, we were missing one, and we needed a couple of new ones anyway to go in the middle. I was able to find something that looked kind of like what I needed, but I would have had to pay about $10 each. I think that was Australian dollars, because they would have to come all the way from Australia. So I found these from the local Lee Valley store that were in stock, and all 6 of them cost me about $18. So that's good. We're ready to go. Voila, everything fits together. So now the thing is, all of our hardware needs to line up so that they can be interchanged and used as separate pieces depending on which inserts, which leaves in the table are there. So first things first, I'm going to come up with a marking line to mark the edges of where we're going to be mounting them, and then we'll start putting them in place. So I'm going to use this pencil line to line up the bottom edge of the main catch portion, and part of that needs to be totally in line with the edge of the table. About like that. Okay, so now we know where our holes go. Let's drill a small pilot hole in there with the screws. we need to line up the other side of the catch. Perfect. Those line up very nicely in there. And we drill our holes. And we'll put screws in those. And there we go, 3 latches done, one side finished. So now I just need to do the other side, and I'll put the table back in the trailer. Okay, now we have all of our table clamps mounted, and I think they're working quite well. Now to disassemble the table, take it back into the trailer and install it in place and test to see how everything goes together. I'll meet you inside.
Okay, we're going to reinstall our table. I've taken both of the leaves out and I've connected it strictly with the 2 table clamps, 2 halves that are there on each one, and it's nice and sturdy, very solid. So that's great. The next thing to do, we'll pop the leg down. And then we'll put the supports back up like that, the way they fit. And put our retaining screws back in, which of course is very important, and this is the part that you might want to add if you don't have retaining screws in your table mount. And we leave them part way out in order to keep the table from jumping out when we're traveling down the road. And there we go. And that's good. Now we just bring the table back up into position. And there we have the small version of the table. And to change it, all we need to do is reach underneath, undo the clamps, slide it open, take the leaf, in place and do up the clamps. And again, nice tight table. And this is the medium size. And if we want to open it up all the way, we just put one more leaf into it. But this leaves much more room to get in and out. And I think we'll find this very useful when we are camping in the rain and we want a place to play cards, relax with a coffee, read a book, you know, whatever we need to do on a rainy day when we come inside the trailer. So that's basically it for this project. It was a pretty quick and easy one, and I'll put a link on where I got the clamps from, and you can check that out. Please give me a thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to follow more of our projects on our 1978 Trillium travel trailer. Thanks for watching.